Welcome to the way we roll with me, Simon Minty.
And me, Phil Friend.
Do you want to save some money? If so, this is the episode for you. Our guest is Georgina Coleman, who created the savings platform Purpl Discounts, that without an E, in 2024 to tackle the Purple Pound gap and provide dedicated support.
Purpl is the UK's first discount platform built by disabled people for disabled people. The aim is to make saving money fairer, simpler, and more accessible with hand-picked deals, discounts, and advice.
Welcome, Georgina. It's lovely to see you. Now, if I went on your website today, what do you think is the best discount?
Well, we've just launched a trial with Tesco for £5 off, which is fantastic. It's the first time that they've done a discount outside of their own kind of club card discounts. So it's a fantastic offer for anyone who's got a disability or a long-term health condition to get £5 off either click and collect, £5 off deliveries, or £5 off Whoosh, which I actually tried out the other day. It's very, very good.
Is
Super
Worcester like a speedy delivery type thing?
Yes. Like literally, it was half an hour, I reckon, from when I ordered it to my door, which is fantastic.
That
So
is amazing.
if I ordered one item like a bar of chocolate and I got, would I? No,
You
that
get
wouldn't
extra
work. All right.
charges
I
on
just
top.
thought I'd try.
You could do that, but it's minimum basket's £15, and if you spend below that, there's an extra surcharge.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Ah,
your
okay.
chocolate bar could become very expensive.
Yes, it could, couldn't it? Gold-plated chocolate bar.
But a
Yes.
five is worth having. That's like a reasonable discount, so I can see. And that's great that you've managed to negotiate with them to do that.
Yes, we started talking to them at the end of last year, and they're really keen to help the community, which is what it's all about, really, making it life a bit more affordable for
Does
many of our community who struggle.
I suppose what strikes me, Georgina, I don't do a lot of shopping and so on myself. I certainly do shop online though for things like clothes and other things. But what strikes me about what you've done is there are a lot of supermarket deals, aren't there? I mean, a lot of people do order their food and shopping online, and it's unusual to see a discount for disabled people in that area. Or am I right about that?
Well, there was no discounts for disabled people at all when I started Purple. That's
Okay.
the whole reason I started it. I was out shopping with my cousin, and we were in a shop where they were promoting the student discount. And I said to my cousin, "Oh, well, my son gets a student discount. Why don't I get a disabled discount?" Because actually, my son probably had more disposable cash when he was a student than many people within the disabled community have. And it just seemed really unfair to me that there was no discounts for us. We'd been forgotten about. Everyone else can get a discount. And, you know, blue light is fantastic. When it started, the reason for it was to help the nurses and the frontline staff. But anyone who works within the NHS can get access to those discounts. And now teachers as well, and I think a lot of other services. And some of those people have very good salaries and very good pensions and very
Hmm.
good benefits. And many of our community don't, they struggle to even find a job that would take them on with the adjustments they require, and some people
Right.
just cannot work. So we have far more financial challenges within the disabled community than I would say any other community of people.
And
Yes.
when did that, obviously, with your son and observing this, when did that, the moment, the sort of click where you went, okay, this is a sort of business idea, or there's something more here?
So I think it was December. When did I incorporate the company? I think it was December 2022. And I came home and I said to my husband, I've got this idea. And he went, another idea. Because I'm always having ideas, which I now know because I've been diagnosed with ADHD post that, is
Yeah.
that's how my brain works. And he actually went, that's actually a really good idea because it's a proven model, because there's uni days and student discounts, blue light. So there's all these other discounts. And there's this big market for our community where there's 16 million people in the UK who
Mm.
have a disability, yet nothing for us. And it just seemed like a no-brainer, really.
How
But
did
how did
you?
you get, oh, sorry,
No,
go
no,
on.
no. Go on, son. Go on.
I was going to say, but how did you change that from an idea to, I'm setting up a
Yeah.
website, I'm going to negotiate with businesses? That's a bigger jump.
Well, me and my husband so he's worked in the media world for years and years, and we had like a side business that he'd kind of developed with a friend when my walking first went downhill, and I realized that I was struggling working where I was working. And he had this idea with a friend, and they built this business. So I started working for that full time from home, which was a competition website. Enter free competitions, every day and you could win prizes. And part of that meant I was meeting clients and talking to people online, reaching out to companies and saying, could we do a competition with you? And so I'd already started having some of those connections with brands. And some of the first brands we worked with were the brands that I had worked with when we were doing competitions. So Rotary Watches, Somerset Toiletry Company. And I've also been someone who, I guess I grew up with my dad taking me to the markets and selling on the markets. So I'd always had that ability to talk to anyone. And I think that's not a skill that everyone has. And I think because of my ADHD now, I've always been quite like driven, and I don't take no for an answer. I always think there's a way to everything. So I'll just pick up the phone or message anyone. I don't care whether it's the CEO or someone lower, down the ranks of a company. It makes, to me, everyone's a person, and I
So
don't have any
you
worries.
kind of it's a very interesting story, isn't it? Because you had the skills there, you were using them in a different way. You had your ADHD, which you didn't know you had at that point, but that kind of gave you the energy and the drive and the commitment to do stuff. And then along comes MS, I guess, which is the other issue that you're trying to manage. What really strikes me, Georgina, is how you built this business when you've got two quite serious impairments that in some ways you'd think would mitigate against you doing that. Did you use it as part of your experience to build the business? I mean, how did it interact with what you were trying to do?
I think, I was diagnosed with MS when my son was born. So, and he's
Okay.
now 23. So I've had it a long time. My walking started going downhill, I would say, when I got to about 40. So I'd had
Right.
it for a number of years before that, and never really, it's not because I didn't care about anyone being disabled. It just wasn't in my bubble, I guess.
Yeah.
And once I became just more physically disabled, it really opened my eyes to the world around me. And I think, when I speak to a lot of brands and I tell them about the cost of a wheelchair or the things that we have to pay for, they're like, oh, they don't realize. I think a lot of people just, I know online you see a lot of abuse, but take those people aside, there's a lot of people who just don't understand because they're not connected to anyone who's disabled. It hasn't hit their family. They just don't understand the costs that come to us. So I think the fact that I am disabled is really important for the community because they know that I'm living the same challenges that they have, and I
Yes.
get it. And yes, I may not have, I know I'm very lucky. If I need a wheelchair, I can afford to pay for it. But I think that's unfair. I think everyone should have access to the things that make their life better. So I have that understanding because I am disabled and I can see both sides. Some people can afford things, but other people can't. And that's not right because there's things that I have that help my disability that other people
Yes.
can't get access to
Yes.
because
I,
we live in
I
a world
suppose
where we don't have enough
what's
money for that.
what's interesting too then, and you tell me if I'm right, that obviously running your own business enables you to manage your MS. You can do things when you can do them and not. Am I right about that? So have you kind of structured the business in some ways to accommodate that?
I'm probably really bad because I work way too much because I really
Okay.
care about making Purpl successful because my long-term vision is to have a foundation so I can give
Right.
grants to people. I have this vision of having like a hub center where I say to my physiotherapist lady, one day I'm going to employ you and you're just going to give everyone physio for free. You'll give me mine and then you'll give everyone else it. Because
Right.
ultimately, people and my chiropractors are saying they want to just help people, but they obviously need to be paid. And if they were paid and could just help people who couldn't afford it all day long, they'd be really, really happy. And so
There
I
is,
envisage that kind of foundation.
Yeah.
we're originally, we'll come back to your ambition because there's some, I'm sure there's a lot to unpack, but Phil noticed it. You already do make some sort of grants. I mean, what was that about?
So, and also I didn't answer the rest of your question. So I work
I'm
too long.
sorry.
No, 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 that's my fault. That's the ADHD brain. I work too long. I sit at my desk too much, and I probably don't look after my health as much as I should. But I'm doing it because I am so passionate about making Purpl successful. But being at home means I can go to the toilet when I need to because my bladder's weak.
Yeah.
I can do my exercise first thing in the morning. If I do want to take time off, I can. And I can work from anywhere if I need to. So when we went to see my stepson in Australia, I could do work when I was out there. So I have that flexibility. The the grant fund was because we were giving money to charity every quarter because it felt important to me that we had to give back, even though we're still a startup. but we don't see where that money goes. And it's not, for a charity, £1,000 here or there isn't a lot of money. And I was thinking, why are we giving it to a charity when we could actually be giving it to our members? And we could buy someone a wheelchair, or we could pay for, I don't know, some therapy for someone, whatever it might be. And it just seemed like actually, I just had a light bulb moment with my PT lady actually doing my exercise one morning. I went, actually, why don't I just give the money directly to the community? So we actually get the money from brands. So it's kind of circular. The more people that come to Purpl and join Purpl, the more members we have, the more brands will spend on advertising through us, which means we have more money to put in the pot for the fund. So it then helps the members who are in Purpl. So
have you allocated? I mean, when Simon and I ran our business together, we had a similar. I don't think we were quite as developed as you, to be fair, but we did every year make some kind of donation to a good cause or a charity of our choosing. But we allocated a certain amount for that. You know, when we looked at our net gross profit, all that stuff. You're doing the same. Have you allocated a budget? So once it's gone kind of thing?
So we're giving 20% of what we get from that extra money that brands pay for promotional.
Right.
So, and at the moment, we don't always get very much spent, but that will grow as we grow in size and members size. You know, compared to Blue Light, we are tiny, but Blue Light will make a lot of money from brands spending on promotion. So I think as we grow, there'll be more money that will go into that pot from that. So 20% is small at the moment, but it will grow. And we're also looking at other ways that we might have sponsorship with brands for the fund each quarter. So we're thinking that through. And we still work with charities. We have an affiliate program with them, so they can push members our way and we can give them a kickback. So there are things that we can do as well still with the charities, but it just seemed I'd rather be able to give someone something and see it intangible, which we can do with a member if we're giving money to them. So we can buy it for them. It's tangible. The brands can see it. It's a nice kind of story as well.
Although I feel for you, because presumably you've added a layer of you've got to assess it and who's going to get it, and that might be some no's, and that's a tough place to be, I imagine.
Yes, I've got a couple of people, and I'm terrible. I've got memory like a sieve with names, but I have two people who've come on the panel with me who will help choose, and we've done it with like equations, so we'll shortlist based on the criteria, and we'll narrow it down, and hopefully we also stopped applications at 250 because we started up thinking we'd only have 100 because we're a tiny team. We can't spend hours going through thousands of applications, but they filled up within like literally a day.
So it shows you, doesn't it, how much need there is out there, doesn't
it? Exactly. So yeah,
well, I think it's for a startup, that's pretty remarkable. That, you know, most startups, and I remember when we were, you know, you're scratching around behind the sofa for cash, you know, you're doing, and it's remarkable that you're able to do this, and direct giving, you know, to the individuals concerned is a pretty novel way of going about it. Well done, you, I say. It's a great idea.
I guess because I'm part of the community, I'm doing it for all the right reasons. Obviously, I had to get investors to start the business, so obviously money, profit at some point, is obviously important. But
you're a business first, aren't you?
Yeah. Everyone who invested knew the vision and what we wanted to achieve, and I think they all want to be involved in something that's doing good. So they see, they understand that, and it's community first always.
So we've got a double-headed question for you. There's far too much niceness going on, so we need to play hardball. It's a paid subscription, and how do you convince people that it is worth them paying?
I'm not a member, so come on.
And then the follow-up, which I'm happy to come back to if you don't get it, which is you have to give evidence and show that you have a disability in however form. Is there pushback on that as well?
So when we first launched the paid membership, we did get some unhappy comments. We gave everyone who was a member up to that point free membership for a year, which has just come to a circle because we launched the membership.
Missed that then, have I? I've missed that.
To me, that was important. We had to give, you know, you can't just slap a membership fee on people who have been with us from day one and signed up early. We have to have a fee. You know, the world we live in where it's the affiliate world is not as simple as it sounds. Tracking issues, people use private browsers, people use VPNs, we don't get paid properly. So
Right.
we wouldn't survive if we didn't have a membership fee. That's the end of it,
How
basically.
much is it then,
So
the
last
fee?
year when we started it at £6.99 for the first year. We've just changed our model so that we've got a monthly fee. So
Yeah.
someone can sign up for 1 month for £2,
Yeah.
or they can
Right.
sign up for a year for £12.
I got you.
Right.
Because some
Okay.
people say they can't afford to pay for a year,
Yeah.
then come on board and do it for a month, and you'll save more than that yearly fee anyway in a month if you use.
So long as you do the old Martin Lewis thing where people aren't just buying it for the sake of it, they're buying stuff that they need anyway, and then they should get their money back pretty rapidly.
Exactly. And with 10% off Morrison's, every
Right.
food shop that's delivered or click and collect, or £5 off your Tesco.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Plus, we've got savings on cinema tickets, theatre tickets, Merlin, days out. We've got money off Dunelm, Holland and Barrett, clothing companies.
Big stuff.
We launched our in-store at the end of last year on our app. So there's a digital membership card, and we've got Dunelm, Holland and Barrett, Halfords, Yours Clothing. We've got 2 mobility companies, Miller Care and Eden Mobility, Doc Martens, that are all in store, and we're going to be building more in store as we grow.
You said this, so I could get that scanned at the checkout.
Yep. So I will show you on my screen now, so you can see what it looks like if my app will load and it's all because we know technology can not
This is
always
the
do what you want.
Steve Jobs moment.
So go to our in-store offers.
Got you.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Say you're going to go there. The membership card has your photo on.
Yeah.
So you go to the offer you want. So say Holland and Barrett.
Yeah.
You click the card, and
Very
There
good.
you are.
and each brand, it comes up because some brands need a QR code, some need a
Yeah.
barcode, some don't need a code. So, and also having the photo on there means it stays within the community. So you can't change your picture once it's
So the
there,
bit then
unless you contact us.
that all sounds brilliant. And I'm not a member, but you're beginning to get to me. I think. I mean, my wife does all of our food shopping. Presume if I went with her with my card, then we would get
Not
But
in store for food yet. I keep trying.
okay,
I'll
so it's
keep
not in store
pushing.
for food yet.
I
Okay.
keep pushing, and I say to not everyone can use online. So, being able to go to a shop for some people who can't use technology for whatever reason, or visual impairments,
Yes.
also for
Yes.
some people getting out to the supermarket's their only trip out of the house.
But what's the process then? Because we're getting near to the end of our time now. What's the process for me to become a member? What do I have to do?
Okay,
If you
so
can explain that,
yeah.
I know we haven't got the forms and things, but
So you sign up, create an account, and then you upload your disability evidence. And we have to do that. Otherwise, the brands wouldn't work with us, because
right.
we've got to have, unfortunately, there are people out there who will try it on and try and gain access to the discounts that we're trying to get. So we have to be strict. It's a whole long list. So you can do a blue badge, a disability letter. It can be a disabled bus pass. It can be an access card, a CEA card, even an NHS diagnosis letter. And we even have a GP form. If you don't have any of those, and your GP can just sign 2 things to say that you qualify under the Equality Act for having a disability. So
And I can do this online. I can
all online.
Just go online, yeah.
And if you struggle, then we just help you. If it fails, some things will go up automatically, and you'll get instant access if you take the picture in the right way and it's got the right information on. If it fails, it comes through to us, and then we'll send you information as to why it's failed. And you can sign up on behalf of yourself, or as a carer or a parent. So if you've got a child that's disabled, you can sign up in your name as a parent and then upload their document. So
could I do it on a paper? So if I can't use a computer, would I be able to send you the forms and the pictures and things like that?
So you could send it. We don't have it. No one's ever asked us that actually before. I guess we don't have a central, because we're all remote.
Yes.
We don't have an office as such. But I think if you have the GP form, the GP would email it to us anyway. Right. And the thing is, if you can't use online, you're not going to use our site anyway, because it is all on an app, and because of the way the codes
good
for
point.
brands.
Yes.
So, people ask us for a card, and it's like, well, we can't do a card because that can't have a code on. And also, we can't put.
That's
It's
interesting, isn't it?
difficult.
I suppose it's part of the digital economy now, isn't it? I know when I've worked for various organizations in my past, there was a quite a large cohort who would only get paper things because they couldn't use one for online forms and stuff. But anyway, but that's pretty clear. So I've just got to fill the forms in, get the evidence together, send it to you, and then how long? What, 2 or 3 days, and I'm in, or
If
straight
you
away?
upload the picture correctly and it's got all the right information, you can access it straight away. Once you've uploaded that and it's been approved, you just pay, choose whether you want annual or monthly. And most
Right,
of our members on average say £15 per code usage. So
right,
you
okay.
can, we had a 5-star review I got this morning from someone saying that they saved, like, I can't remember how much, but over £200, I think,
It's
since it's
amazing.
been on. And last night I did a live TikTok with someone, and there was someone on that call who said they'd saved loads through Purpl. So
And you alluded to it earlier on, which was the future. I mean, 3 years, 5 years. You've given us a bit about grants, foundations, so on. What about the purple discount part?
I just hope Purpl discount grows bigger and becomes as big as Blue Light, and there's so many ideas of things that I want to do that I think will be great for the community. I want us to be like that hub. Everyone who becomes disabled, because most of us aren't born disabled, the vast
Mm.
majority become disabled later in life. I want us to be that one place that you can go to find everything, the signposting, the information. We've got a members Facebook group, which is lovely, and that we check every email to make sure they are a member before we let them in. So there's a real community vibe to Purpl, and we get lovely comments from people saying that forgetting the discounts, they just don't feel lonely because they can talk to anyone within the group,
Mm.
and everyone understands it because we're all part of that same community. So we all have the same challenges. We may have differences in those challenges, but we all have, the challenges of some kind because of our disability.
Well,
So
I'm sold. I'm sold. I'm
I'm
signing
also
up.
pleased because I don't know where that hub is now. There used to be a BBC Ouch really good hub. I mean, I don't know of an online chat place. Maybe I'm a bit out of touch, but that's lovely if that can be developed. I mean, I think what you're doing is great in itself, but the idea that there's a sort of community that people can do is great.
yeah, no, it's lovely. And for me, it's I know I met you, Simon, at the award ceremony last year, and we actually just won a Startup for Good award with UK startups. But those things are lovely, but the thing that really matters is the fact that we're saving people money and
Mm.
we're making a genuine difference to their lives, and that's the most important thing for me.
Well, thank you so much. That's been really helpful, and I mean it. I will join. I think
So come and
my
say hi.
wife and I are going to go and spend, spend, spend.
Exactly.
Make sure his photo is accurate though,
Oh
Georgina. If he
yes,
uses
yes.
ones when he's 20
I've
years
got a
old, younger.
23-year-old photo of me, which I'll stick in there. It's been great talking to you, Gerald. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll make sure that all the details of what you're doing are on our website and all that kind of thing, so people can find you. But
Thank you very
great,
much.
thank you very much.
Lovely to see you both.
Thank you, Georgina.
Take care.
Take care.
Welcome back to The Way We Roll, and we are delighted. Our next guest is David Dew-Veal, who, well, I need to put cards on the table. I have spent time with David at the Royal Ascot, which isn't bad. I've been to Chester, and actually, David interviewed me on their podcast, and we've even had a meeting in a Greasy Spoon cafe in London, which was great. And I've actually used the service that we're just about to describe. Anyway, we're talking to David today about finding out about what drives him and what drives Aura, Open Road Access, the company that he founded.
I like Aura already because they provide wheelchair accessible vehicles, and as some of you know, I use one. They do adapted car hire and flexible WAV, wheelchair accessible vehicles, WAV lease options for long-term mobility across the UK. Their ambition is to create a world where everyone can move freely and independently, with accessibility as the cornerstone of a better tomorrow. So, David, let's kick off by saying, or asking rather, how's that ambition going to conquer the world?
Well, I suppose firstly, just thanks for having me. It's yeah, and thanks for the kind of generous introduction there. I think you really captured it, and you're right, Simon. We've spent a lot, yeah, a lot of time, a good amount of time together, talking about things, and you've been a kind of great sounding board and support for us. So yeah, just to say thank you in front of all of your audience, and everyone else. So thank you for that. So. Yeah, Phil, your question, that's a big question, isn't it? And I know you just said we've got 25 minutes, so I'll try and keep it relatively brief. I think the beauty of a kind of setting a vision, is it's something that is almost insurmountable, it's almost unconquerable, and it's something to aim towards and work towards. I'm not doing this on a whim. This has been a kind of God, at risk of sounding a bit grandiose, but there's an element of a kind of life's work to this. I kind of growing up, the Motability scheme and our WAV that we had as a family was a real bright spot for us in what at points was a pretty challenging environment due to my kind of father's degenerative condition and the impact that had on the family. So the kind of the value and the importance of transport, the challenges around accessibility and accessible transport is something that is kind of quite in my core. And then because of this, I started working at Motability actually when I graduated from university, and that's when the idea of Aura was born. So I appreciate it might not sound like I'm answering your question because I'm going back and talking about my personal history, but to look at how it's going against our vision of a world where people can move freely and independently, back from it being a spark of an idea I had, I don't know, over a decade ago on the grad scheme at Motability, to where we are now with thousands of customers, exceptional feedback, a brilliant team around the business, and so much excitement and so much progress. That gives me a huge amount of comfort in how we are getting on towards the vision, albeit that vision is kind of intentionally grand and intentionally almost unachievable, but we're definitely making progress towards it, and having that ambition is helpful to drive us, and it's definitely helpful to drive me.
I'm happy occasionally to be wrong, and I think I am wrong because I remember when we first met way back in the day on a Zoom call like this, and the business case I was worried about. I thought, is there going to be enough people to allow you to make a profit as well as have that social purpose? And I think you're managing that. I mean, how is that? The social purpose is clear. Is it starting to feel like a good business? You said the customers and so on. You're starting to go, okay, this is a strong business as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, I don't want to go down the cliche startup manual book of find the customer, prove the demand, and then prove the business model. But there's been an element of that, and we've had the feedback and we've had the customers. The last so there was a year where Aura was a pilot effectively, and that was a couple of years ago, and that is where we proved there was a need and we proved there was customers. I think the last year it was founded as a standalone, real business in its own right in, well, Christmas Eve 2024 actually. Yeah, only noticed that when I looked on Companies House quite recently. But the last year proving the business model has been key, and we've seen significant growth. We've seen a significant willingness to pay for our service, in a way that people are comfortable with, and the feedback we get is that it is reasonably priced, where we are able to operate it viably as a business. It's year one on that journey, so there's a huge amount more to do in terms of the growth, how we operate, really refining it as a business, as a machine, taking it from a startup to an actual business, a model that you can put something in and expect a reasonable outcome on the other side of it. But yeah, we're
Can
making
we can we then focus? That's helpful. Thank you, David, because I didn't know the the way the organization came about and so on. But here I am, powered wheelchair user. I need a car. I mean, how does this work? How do I, as a punter, give you my money? How, and what do you give me for the money I give you? So I'm a powered wheelchair user. I want to drive from going to Yorkshire for 2 weeks, say.
There's a few parts to that. So firstly, in full transparency, we do not operate drive from vehicles currently on
Okay,
the
so I'd be
fleet.
a passenger.
Yeah, it's passenger
Yep.
WAP currently because of the kind of complexities around drive from
Okay,
vehicles. So
fine. Okay.
a drive from vehicle, but you would hopefully be aware of our service and would know, and that's part of what we're focusing on is the awareness of the service. Either give us a call or go to our website, and we have a exceptional customer service team with there's a bit of an alchemy to this, right? Because wheelchair users come in different shapes and sizes, and there's
Sure.
complexity there. And then the vehicles themselves, there's a myriad of different kind of configurations to it. And what the team, one of the things the team are very good at is matching those two things up to make sure
Right.
that the right vehicle for the customer.
Yeah.
So that would be determined based on a conversation, or well, it could be over email or WhatsApp. And your vehicle would be booked. You'd pay for it depending on kind of how long you were having it for. And then it would be delivered to the location that you needed it from. You'd use it for the 2 weeks, and then it would be picked up from the location that it was delivered to as well, or a different location actually. It would be picked up 2 weeks
So it
later.
is like, in some ways, like a proper just rental scheme. I can rent whatever.
Yeah,
Just for the audience's sake, then. So, all right, you don't do drive-froms, but I could also, if I can transfer into the driver's seat with push-pull hand controls, I could have that kind of vehicle. That would be a spec that I could have.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, so that's cool. So for some disabled people, that's what they want to do. I could probably do it too if I could transfer. So okay, so it's door to door. It's a hire for a period of time. Could that be a day or could it be a month? I mean, it's pretty open.
It's very
Open road is what you call yourselves. So
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Anywhere from a day to a year.
Oh, right. Okay.
Really. So the flexibility is such a key part of this because I know you've shared that you have a drive from
Yeah,
vehicle yourself, and I would imagine that there's the kind of decision around that was you kind of want to use it, you need to use it enough to kind of justify having it sat on your drive
absolutely. Yeah.
effectively.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to be fair, that's exactly we didn't growing up. It wasn't a drive from; it was a passenger WAV. But that was the same for us. It made sense to own a vehicle on our driveway. But actually, what we have seen, what I've seen a huge amount through kind of my career in life, I suppose, is that there is also a hugely variable nature to disability, or to life, and of
Sure.
course to disability as well. It could be people that are visiting the UK on holiday. So we're the only company that can reliably drop a vehicle to an airport for somebody flying into the UK and then flying out. We do a lot of work in the rehab sector as well. So when people are going through a rehabilitation journey to either determine if they want to own a vehicle permanently or actually if they only need it for a few months or so. And we, for example, we were speaking to someone yesterday, a customer in London, who was saying that the transport in London, the public transport, is pretty accessible. It's not perfect, but it's pretty accessible. However, if they're wanting to go on trips, as you said, go to the Lake District or something like that, a vehicle is really, really useful. So the flexibility is really at the core of the problem we're solving here and the need for that flexibility.
I guess too, David, it's fair to say, is it? And you tell me, there will be large numbers of people who, for whatever reason, can't be part of the Motability scheme. They don't qualify, or they want to keep their money, or whatever it is, they just don't. Um, do you see yourselves as a kind of alternative to that? I know that there's a difference. It's not a 3-year lease or a 5-year lease or something like that. But do you see yourself as a kind of organization that's offering people who can't use the Motability scheme for whatever reason can get the same kind of service from an ORA. Is that a fair thing to say?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. And I think that is the kind of origin story of the business that I kind of went reflected on. In that, I think you'll find, well, it's difficult to say. I am up there with the biggest fans of Motability and what it does because of the huge personal impact it's had on me and my family. And it's because of that I have seen, and I've done huge amounts of research on it in terms of there are a large number of people that aren't eligible for Motability in
Yes.
the first
Yeah.
instance. If you become, as you'll know, but I'll kind of say it for the avoidance of doubt, if you become disabled after the age of 64, 65, then you can't qualify for the allowance to go on
Yes.
the Motability scheme, for example. And another really good example is actually if people, when people may become disabled, it could be because of an accident or going through the rehabilitation journey I mentioned. There's a process to apply for the
Yeah.
Motability scheme, but the need is immediate, and
Mm.
it's in some cases most acute because there are hospital appointments and rehab appointments. So yeah, I think we are um, intentionally complementary to Motability.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
I,
good.
Um, I was only because I have lived experience of the Aura scheme, having used it last weekend. And as you say, your team spoke to me. I had to have a proper call. We have a chat through. I had to find out research about my dad's wheelchair, the one he was going to use. And the joy of it was the car was delivered and we all went out for the day. And as it turned out, the vehicle we got was slightly larger than we expected. So I put my scooter in the back, and all six of us went out in the one vehicle. And had a really lovely day. And then the car was picked up a couple of days later. My dad is currently in a care home, and this is the second time we've taken him out, and that upsets me in itself. But it was a joy of a thing to do. And also, once my dad was in the car, he was recognizing everywhere we were. It's perfect for that. In our case, it was a short-term usage, but it also became a joyful day out. It was a really like a fun thing to do. Um,
But you don't have any of the hassles either, do you, of, cleaning it and servicing it and doing all that stuff? It's just there when you want it and it's not when you don't.
and the only bit we did have was you had to find a driver. And my
yes.
sister was a bit too
Yes.
nervous. I can't drive because of my dwarfism. We haven't got adaptations on it. So
What
in
about
there,
your dad? Why didn't he drive it? What's the matter with him?
he's got quite a lot of things matter with him. That is a problem.
I know Simon's dad, and I can just see him itching to get behind the wheel. It'll
No.
be something, but he's
He was.
past that now, sadly. But yeah, but it
Uh,
served a really good purpose, and clearly, I mean, how do you see it growing and developing? I mean, are you going to offer different services, or are you just going to build on this as a?
Yeah, a question I'm always asking myself and the team, and it's the decision that you've just laid out really is there's a route to just continue growing it, as
Yeah.
it there are the stats slightly vary with how you look at it, but there are 1.2 million wheelchair users. That's a generally accepted figure, 1.2 million wheelchair users in the UK. Um, and a proportion of those, you mentioned Motability, are being supported incredibly well by Motability. There's around 100,000, I think just under 100,000 WAVs and adapted vehicles on the Motability scheme. So if you use that as a proxy for wheelchair users, but
Yeah.
so there's a huge number of wheelchairs users in the UK. So actually, the thanks so much for that feedback, Simon. And that is the feedback we get overwhelmingly, and that just makes us all even more passionate to get the message out there and continue to grow the service and provide it. But we do also, as you pointed out, Phil, we get asked about different product services. Could we include wheelchairs for people? We get asked a lot about accessible camper vans, all sorts of other questions around accessibility as well. In particular, people that are newly disabled and trying to navigate the
Yes.
systems and everything around that. So there's a lot there, but we are trying to contain our excitement and keep our focus at the same time within it. Just one final point is around the tech side of things, and the the strides we've taken in our investment in technology and our focus on technology and using AI and AI tools to massively expand our reach and our ability to serve our customers is a really key focus of ours. I've been talking about transport accessibility for a long time. When I left Motability, I went to KPMG and was consulting on it. The Motability Foundation was a big client of mine. Actually, my client there now works for Aura with us, but we did a huge amount of work around transport accessibility, the transport accessibility gap. Why is it so big? Why is transport, generally speaking, so poorly accessible? And lots of reasons for it. But a conclusion we always come back to is that using the technology to solve some of these barriers, the complexities around matching people with the right vehicles, being able to scale a model in a way where you keep your costs low so you can pass those the cost savings and the pricing on to customers to make it more reliable. So long answer, but technology is at the core of it, that's for sure.
Okay.
You teed us up for a question that Phil, I'm going to borrow it from you, Phil. That you as Aura have been publicly calling for reform on powered mobility regulations, on taxi licensing, and the question is, does running Aura make you want to change the system, or does wanting to change the system make you start Aura?
I might have to take that one away, Simon. That's a good.
I had to concentrate as I asked.
I wish I'd asked it now.
That is a good question. Can I say both?
Right.
Can I say, but I suppose we are not kind of, I don't see our job as Aura as kind of deep advocacy and deep campaigning. There are people that are incredible at doing that, and probably better placed, well, undoubtedly better placed than us to do that. What we do have is thousands and thousands of customers who are providing us evidence, providing us insights on some of the barriers. And technology has been a barrier, but you're right, policy and regulations can be a barrier. And if we can take the insights from our customers who are so generous with telling us some of the challenges and the issues, and present those to the institutions, to the systems, to government to support some of that change in decision making, then yeah, very, very happy to do that.
I suppose I like Simon. I think Simon's story about his party trip with his dad and family and so on just makes me have a personal story of my own, which I want to ask you about, and it links to the question of taxes and regulation and stuff. I live in a rural area, and at the moment driving is crucial. If I can't drive, I can't go anywhere. We have no buses, and the taxi firms that are near us, by and large, are all saloon cars. So I can't be transporting one of those. If I could be supporting in one of the normal taxis, i.e. a wheelchair accessible taxi, it wouldn't be available during school time because they're all doing school runs. All the cabs are booked for school, special needs schools and stuff like that. So here I am. My wife's, I'm getting older. My wife is getting older. Neither of us can drive. There is a huge issue here now developing for much older people who are losing the ability to drive. So I've gone through Motability, I've then used you, and now I can't drive. Is there a route through, do you think, whereby on-demand services, maybe it's going to be automotive, where the driverless cars. I mean, maybe that's the answer to my own question, but you talk about AI, you talk about technology. Where are you then, do you think, on the driverless car market? Because for some WAV users, that would be the solution, wouldn't it? I can't drive the vehicle myself, but I could be a passenger in a driverless vehicle. We've only got 2 minutes, by the way.
I've been my last gig when I was at Motability Operations was being part of a presentation to the group board on the future of technology and the future of autonomy. This was way back when, so a previous board.
Yes.
And it was when autonomy was going to change the world tomorrow, and
Yeah.
and this is 10 years ago. And I don't know if you've seen the kind of trough of disillusionment, the hype curve. And I've probably been a bit disillusioned with it after such, well, you can probably see my enthusiasm and my passion, I had it all on that. But I left the office yesterday and I saw a Waymo, it's Google's
Yes.
autonomous car company, driving down the road,
Uh,
scanning the road. So where are we with autonomy? It feels like we're coming out. We've got over the hype. We're coming out of the disillusion, and we're into reality and practicality. But you're so right. It could be game changing for accessibility. And one of our director of policy at Aura, Catherine Maris, is contributing to the discussion around within government around how do we make sure that the development is accessible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Accessibility
Yeah.
considerations are put in the outset rather than kind of a bolt on
Absolutely.
afterwards.
Absolutely.
and that Waymo, which I've seen around London, they're not accessible.
No,
And so
No.
it's and I don't know if they'll make an exception. If we made all London black taxis driverless, which that's probably a whole union thing I don't want to get involved in. But the point being, whatever the standard car is it going to be accessible to all people? It took us
Yeah.
ages to get black cabs accessible. You don't want to have to do that again.
Well, I think that might be one of the ways we have to go, but sadly we're running out of time, aren't we, Simon? So it's yeah, just scratching the surface. It's typical.
Well, I'd
Um,
love to do this again. So
Well, yeah,
we'll check
definitely.
in, see how you go. Thank you, David. Thank you for making the time. And both, I'm a big fan of business and social purpose when we get it together. I'm a big fan of that, and that's a real difficult balance. But it sounds like you're cracking it, and more power to you and the team.
What was the Greasy Spoon Cafe called, by the way?
Pop
Were
in
you
cafe in
the pop
Bermondsey.
in Bermondsey? Right. Okay. I'm just going to make a note. So
And
you
it was
guys,
Simon's choice, and yeah,
where
I
you
remember
guys
it
hang
because it was
out is
so
where
good. I
I need
remember
to
it
be.
because it was so good.
We'll all head there and talk about automotive vehicles or whatever.
We had
Automatic vehicles.
someone from the National Theatre come and meet a chap, another David. That was hilarious. It was just the perfect location for where I was moving around to, and
Nothing
everyone
wrong
was
with a
very
good Greasy
accommodating.
Spoon Cafe, in my
Yeah.
view.
Absolutely.
Anyway, thank you so much, David. That's been, and I wish you well. It sounds really exciting, and the future could be very, very exciting too, couldn't it? No question.
Well, yeah, thanks so much for the invite and your challenging and insightful questions today. I'm probably going to be pinging you an email afterwards with some reflections that you prompted me to have. So thank you.
No
Thanks,
problem.
David. Let's we do most recent first, David and Aura. What are you thinking?
What am I thinking? Actually, I thought. I mean, David's obviously David's passion, commitment for this, and his it goes back to, as it so often does it not? A personal story linked to his dad and everything. But what he's doing could be game changing for an awful lot of people, I think. No question about that. And I must admit, I've not really knew much about the service until you told me about it. Obviously, I use Motability, so I don't have a particular need, but I can, as we talk about in the interview with him, there's going to come a time where I can't drive. And that option might well be something I'd look at. But for those people that don't have an opportunity to use Motability for whatever reason, this could be their answer to, making those important trips, journeys to the hospital, whatever it is, holidays, all of it.
Let me get. It's
Nice
very
guy.
new. It's a new
Yeah, and very new. Yeah,
organization,
24
so
was it?
yeah,
2024, I think he
they
said.
are. They're doing the rounds, tweaking the model, working out what the customer is. The bit I like about David, he's a management consultant.
Yeah, yeah.
He's deep in the proper language,
KPMG.
all the stuff they use, all of that stuff,
Yeah.
and he's got this social purpose as well. So he
Yeah.
sort of flip flops all the way through. We've got to make sure it's the right thing, but how do we maximize? Uh,
It's a
and
great
I sat with him.
combination, isn't it? A business head with a,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
a passionate heart.
But I do
Yeah.
remember I met with him once, and he said, "We've had I'm making these numbers up, 60%. I know, I think it was like 4 times growth in the last 3 months. And I said, which is great, but what was it in the first place? As in having one customer 1 month and then for the next month,
Four, yes.
it's 4 times. But so it's that real deep dive. And I do think it's growing, and I think the that original tension. It weirds people like you, but it is a whole bundle of other people, whether it's people visiting the country, whether it's people getting out of care homes, all these sort of short-term temporary users. And it's a great example. Someone who becomes disabled very quickly or temporarily, you need it now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Get it?
You don't want to go through all the bureaucracies that you do have to go through to get the Motability schemes type thing. The other thing that struck me is overall is that it is actually just like Hertz or Enterprise on one
Absolutely.
level. It's
Yeah.
just an ordinary service, but specializing for people that have different mobility needs and can't easily use an ordinary saloon car or something.
I mean,
So
about
great. It should explode, shouldn't it? It should really take off.
it's about the numbers
Yeah.
and how many and making sure the number the cost is within
Yeah.
range.
Yeah.
I mean, halfway through, I suddenly got a bit angry because I'm like, not disabled person goes to their car and rents a car. Now WAV users can go and rent a car. What about me? Where's the cars that are adapted for me to get into and drive or
What
be
for
a passenger?
a small person, you mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're in the same kind of boat, I guess, as WAV users, aren't you, that
Yeah,
can't
but you've got a
drive it?
solution now. You've got Aura.
But I haven't, have I? I can't drive one.
No,
I'm
but
a
you.
passenger.
I see what you mean. You're just going to make me a passenger.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
want to be a driver. But I get his point. You can't,
Yes.
that's a stretch too far. But
It
I
is at
do
the
get his point.
moment.
And in an
Yeah.
emergency, Sue could drive me in one of their
Yeah.
vehicles. But
In what's
yeah,
that class? I think 90%, something
yeah.
like that. They come
Well,
in a load, but you're right.
God, it makes a
Yeah.
huge difference for a lot of people, doesn't it?
If we go back the other social purpose and running a business, Georgina Coleman from Purple Discounts, what are you
Well,
thinking on that?
again, Georgina was again a bit like David. This is novel, different,
Yeah,
new. First time saw a gap in the market, went for it.
yeah,
Her skills plus her disability kind of came together nicely and fired her up, and off she went. And it's a bit like David's thing. It's remarkable because they've not been around long, have they? And this kind of enthusiasm and passion for doing
yeah,
something. The real kicker for me was the grants and her ambition to have a foundation. It
yeah.
isn't just about, obviously, they want to make a living from it. Of course they do. But the idea that you can give some grants to people off the back of what you're doing, that for me was very unusual, really, really unusual. And a startup, I mean, come on, they're giving money away already.
I wonder if that's, and I'm being very naughty here because I don't know Georgina well enough. It's that classic bit. She said 23 years being a disabled person. She's going through that process all the way through. She has uh, physical therapy,
Yeah.
and she's like, why aren't more people having? I had this with my dad when Salt, the speech and
Yes.
language therapist, when they did their work, fabulous. And then they say, we can't do any more now, we've run out. And you're like, what do I do now? Am I supposed to pay for this, or does my dad not have it? And so she's recognizing that when that service stops, people still it's the dream that the NHS will be able to provide all of that care all the time, and we know it can't. It
No,
just doesn't. We
no,
don't put enough in to do it. So she's finding
no.
another way. I we didn't get to it. It's back to these numbers, and I don't want to be a cynic, but I get a little bit. There's 16 million, she quoted, 16 million disabled people.
Right.
Do you think there are 16 million people in the UK that get PIP, have a blue badge, could get their doctor to say, yes, you are sufficiently, in inverted commas, disabled to then qualify for this? When people we've heard 20 million, and I'm like, yeah,
All having
I think
babies.
20 million people have got something, but have they got something enough, inverted commas again, speech marks, to say, you now qualify for this?
Last month, we had Nancy Doyle on, didn't we, about neurodiversity.
Yeah.
How would they qualify? They don't get blue badges. They haven't got PIP.
Some of them got PIP.
Some have, yeah, but some haven't.
Yeah.
I mean, how would they? Maybe a doctor's letter? I don't know. It's a good point. I mean, you and I have been cynical since the 1990s about the way we count disabled people. I can remember when you and I started together, my figure was 6.7 million.
Yeah,
When you
exactly.
joined, it was 6.9. Then it went to something else.
There's lots of people with lots of conditions, but would it be significant enough, substantial adverse effect, to get you PIP, blue badge, covered under the DDA definition, Equality Act
How
definition?
many people are on PIP? Do we know?
I reckon 3, 4 million.
Well, there you go. That's a customer base just there, isn't it?
And that might be just high rate. I'm not sure how many,
Yeah,
there's all
yeah.
like different
I don't
levels,
know.
but
Maybe listeners, come on, send us in your.
well,
How many people
hosts
are there?
or hosts, do your research before you start wanging on.
No, the
I
listeners got to have some homework, for goodness sake.
it
You
was
can't just
just
sit there be entertained.
part of me says it doesn't matter the numbers because Georgina and David are showing there is enough demand to
There's
make
a
this
need.
work.
Yeah, there's a
It's
need.
me being a little bit pedantic going, let's be ever so careful about throwing out massive numbers because you
The
won't capture all of that.
the other strand through Georgina was about fairness, wasn't it? And you get all these discounts for all these things, but disabled people are kind of left out. And I think
Yeah,
some of what she's about is
yeah.
right. She's charging the windmills. Good for her. I mean, more the merrier.
And her
And I
point,
like the fact that both of these people we spoke to are young. They're setting up, they're starting out, they're doing stuff. It's
yeah.
a different world we live in now, and they're trying to meet the needs that they perceive to be there. And good for them. Long may it
Actually,
continue.
you make me think of Victoria from
Yep, yep,
no,
yep.
oh,
Nancy Doyle, they're all
well, no, Nancy's not creating a business,
no,
but
but
the other
they're all
three
half
are
my
create.
age. I was thinking more about the younger people coming along and challenging what stereotypes are and all that kind of stuff.
I'm thinking more about the business case, the argument, the purple pound, all of that stuff, which I've always been hesitant of. And now I'm like, well, we can think of three organizations that are bucking that trend and
Mm.
showing that it can work.
Yes,
Um,
the clothing designs from Victoria, Aura, of course, and Georgina doing Purple Pound, but not Purple Pound. Sorry, no, wash your mouth out with soap, Phil, not Purple Pound. Okay, we've got a
right,
listener's corner, haven't we?
you bet we have.
We have got a bumper listener's corner.
Uh, so the first one, which is what I call a backhanded compliment,
Oh,
was Sarah Brown, my PA, saying that last podcast you did, I listened all the way to the end.
when does she get fired, this woman? What is going on that she doesn't listen to all your podcast? I love
Clearly
Sarah.
drifts off.
Sarah's brilliant. Well
I mean,
done, Sarah.
the good thing is she won't have listened to this point, will she? Because she doesn't
No,
listen to
she'd
the
have.
end for most of them.
When
So
I edit, I'll put this at the very beginning.
uh, we also had an email from a former colleague, Ian Goswell, didn't we?
We did, yeah. That was actually very. I was very moved by that. It was very kind of him, actually. He too, it turned out, had all sorts of things going on in his life and had listened to our podcast and found it to be helpful and reassuring, or I don't know. It was a very nice email, wasn't it? Very moving, actually.
I think he is retired and he said, I listened to a few podcasts. I love yours because I know you both. So it's like hanging out
Yes.
in a room with you. But he also said, you made me go away and do more research. And he obviously thought Dr. Nancy Doyle was great, but he
Mm,
said it spurred him on to do other things. So I think when we get a random email from someone who's, what's the word, driven to write just on the back of the show, that's really nice.
yeah. No, I
Yeah.
agree. So those are very welcome. Very nice. It's
Any
nice to know
others
that at least two people are listening. One of them's your PA.
to the
No,
end?
I can't think of any others. Were there any others?
I think it's been a cracking show. Really happy with it. Just to give you a heads up, listener, if you have got this far, the next show, our guest is Sir Charlie Mayfield. If you don't know Sir Charlie, he was asked by the government to look into the disability employment gap. A bit more sophisticated than that, but essentially, he spent a year looking at why disabled people with long-term health conditions were not getting employment. And we're going to have an interview with him, which should be great.
And I think that's really good that he's taking the time out to come and talk to us, actually, because he's on the milk train. He's going around everything, talking about the research and studies he's made. He's a real expert. So I'm really looking forward to talking to him and finding out what he thinks needs to be done to close that gap. So yeah, it should be a really good listen. But yeah, okay. So before we meet next, I would have gone on a little cruise. Portugal, Spain, a little bit of sunshine. Thank you very
Lovely.
much. Yeah.
You've just
I'll,
mentioned the World Cup finalists as well, Portugal,
ah.
Spain.
I heard that England might do quite well.
Come on.
Anyway, it's lovely to see you, Simon. I hope all is well, and we'll speak together very soon.
Thank you very much, listener, if you got to this point. Thanks for listening.